Hi guys, it's Jamie, and I wanted to show today pour-overs, coffee pour-overs. We did this in our class this session, and it was such fun. I wanted to share with you. So you may recognize these mugs. I did an earlier video where I showed you how to do this. In this class, we also did something with design. We created plaster molds with little buttons. And so that was kind of the theme of our mugs. We all had buttons up them, and then I carried the button theme over to the pour over. So I already have this available online as how to make this, and now I'm going to show you this counterpart to it. I just copied the design from some of the pour overs I've seen out there, so nothing really special, but I'll show you the way that I do it. So we have the cone shape, we have a handle for holding, we have the platform that sits onto the mug, and then underneath it we have a ring, and then the holes for the pour through. So it's interesting, one of the things I learned about this from a colleague was that if you don't have like a little tube or something under the holes, then when the moisture comes through, when the drips start, they'll wick over to the side and come off the ring. So in order to prevent that from happening, I raised this surface just by creating little balls and putting the holes through that. Another consideration is I use 3 because of one particular design I liked. I liked the 3. Other people have since said to me that maybe they want the coffee to go through a little bit slower, so they would maybe only do 1 hole. So that's totally up to you. I may try that. I'm not sure. What I did is I figured out my template based on a coffee filter. So this is a number 6 coffee filter, and I did a couple length tests, and this is the length that won out when I was just experimenting. If I were to put that up to there, you'd see that. And then all I did is I just drew the circle, and I kept drawing the circle around. And so I went 14 3/4 inches this way. And then the bottom, if you want to use just a cutter, it's a 3.5 inch circle cutter to cut out from the center. The next template I have here is a circle, and this circle this is for the platform, and that's, it's like 5 1/8. I'm not sure how I got that, but you could just probably make it a 5-inch circle and it would be fine. So I have a slab here, and the slab is 12 by 8, and that should fit my template nicely. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out my slabs to see where they fit, and then underneath I have this circle that's raised, and I'm sure there's a technical name for it, but I'm just going to use a cutter for that. So I will do that now. Put that aside and mark this. So typically I decorate first and then cut, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to decorate and then I'll just cut again. If you notice that my circle has a hole in the middle, I use that as a guiding point here, and you can see that it transferred into my clay right here. I'm going to make it a little bit more obvious, and that's going to help me line up later. Today I'm using B-Mix with Grog from Laguna Clays. Now I'm going to use my 45-degree cutter to create a beveled edge. I'm going to take one of my beveled pieces and I'm going to put it into the seam here to smooth it out. Although in some of my other pieces, I just left the seam here. I didn't mind it. I'm using the back of my fingernail to smooth it in. Next step, I'm going to let it set up a little bit. So I'm going to flip it over onto this mold so I can keep the round shape here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into, I'm going to change the shape of it. So with these guys, I've pushed in on the bottom. It's not just a straight cone going down. You could leave the straight cone, but I like it pushed in a little bit. And I also am thinking about where to push it in. All the other times I put the seam in the front and I've pushed in, or a little bit off to the side in this case here. And so it's really up to you. This time I'm going to try putting the seam on the outside. And I'm going to follow that up with a handle, adhering the handle on the seam too, just for greater strength, or for the piece. Alright, so now what I'm doing is I'm pushing in the sides, and it kind of looks now like an American football. So I've done that, and that is just going to go set up now. So I have my circle. I'm now going to adhere this piece. This now needs to set up before I can put the two pieces together, so I'll see you in a few minutes. Hi, I'm back. The pieces have set up a bit, and I think I'm ready to put it all together. So one of the things that happens is when you do this cone is that you get a little bit of a dip here. So you want to have it nice and flat for when you join it. And the way that I deal with that is I take one of these tools here. Some people call them Surforms. I forget what the official name of these are. Anyways, you get them in the wood area where they carry the wood supplies. This is for shaving wood. I'm using it to shave clay. Okay, so I'm taking off that. I want to make sure though that this is level. So before I add it to my next piece, I'm going to make sure my surface is level, and then I'm going to put it on here. I'll make sure this is level. I already can tell just by putting it on here that this is not, oh, maybe that's better. Hey, pretty good. Pretty good for eyeballing it. Alright, so now that you have a level surface, you can now stick it onto the other piece. So here's my platform, and I'm going to use let's put it over here. Alright, cool. One of the things I wanted to make sure was that if the dot came through, if I could see that. So that's what I'm going to be using to center this on here. Now before I actually add the cone up here, I'm thinking I will add the ball at the bottom. So once again, this little ball at the bottom, which is seen right here, is just to help with the flow of the coffee as it drips. And in this model, I've decided to do a one hole pour. I'm going to try something out, something new. So I'm going to put that on, a little slip. Now I'm going to flip it. I put the cone on. So you could do this before or after the cone. I have a hole punch here. And I'm going to do, there's a smaller hole on here, but I think I'm going to do the 1/8 of an inch hole because, you know, clay shrinks. So I'm going to put that in here and I'm going to push, go around. Looks like I got it. Next, I'm going to place the cone on top. I'm going to center it and pick it up, take a look at it to see, does it look centered? You could always measure side to side to make sure it is. I think this needs to come over a little bit. So now I'm just marking the outside. Actually, I really should be marking the inside. I'll take that off and score. There's all kinds of opportunities for decoration here. I'm doing just a very simple design. Once you've got it on there and centered, the next thing I'm going to do is put a little coil on the inside. And so what I'm going to do is do this, it's called stitching. And I go back and forth along the seam and I stick a little coil in there and push it in. So I'm going to make my little circle and put it in here and smush it in. My fingers. I don't know if you can see that or not. So once it's in, I like to use my thumb to squish it into the seam here. Now ideally when you're joining pieces you want to do it on both sides. For a lot of security here. I'm gonna keep it just on the inside because I like this crisp design hitting this platform. And I'm hoping that will be enough. So I'm almost there. I've got the hole in. This has now been joined. I'm just going to clean up the outside a little bit where the slip went out. And I need to clean up some edges too. I need to clean edges here and I need to clean edges here. One of the most critical things to do is to add the lines on the inside or the crevices in the inside, and I do that with a trimming tool. So first of all I'm going to find where my seam was. It's right here, and I'm going to be sure to not go up my seam. So I'm going to start just shy of my seam and start going up every, like at the bottom, every 1/4 inch, at the top maybe an inch away. And now I'm just going to fix the other pieces before adding the handle. Now I'm ready to add the handle. Now ideally this would go where the seam is to help reinforce that seam. But in this case I want it to line up with the shape on the inside, which is my American football. So I'm just going to put it off to the side right here. The other thing too is I'm going to make sure that it's not sticking way up. Although you could do that. That would be fine. I'm going to make it just sure that it's level and flat, so if I ever want to stack a bunch I could. So I'm just going to mark where the bottom is on this. And flip and score. I'm really enjoying this handle. This is cool. This is something I just, as I was doing this video, that came up. So it's kind of fun how you discover things in the moment. I really like that. There it is. Of course, it needs to be cleaned up a little bit more. I'll spend some time doing that. But that's it. That's coffee pour-overs. I would just, for glazing, I would make sure that when you clean that hole out really well, you don't want it to clog up. One of the tricks that I do after I do a quick dip, I bring it up immediately and blow through it. And that helps the glaze not stick so much. And then the bottom, of course, these are fired. I wipe away the glaze from, this ring and then from the circles or the little dots. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and nothing tastes as good as coffee made from your own pour-over cup. So enjoy. See you next time.